I'm actually a designer by profession, so born and brought up in Bangalore, and then came to the NID to study. So I graduated as a visual communicator. That was in '89, and I think in 1990 I kind of started my own design firm at home. So all my design that I did, even as a designer, was around the experience. How do you generate an experience that is enriching? That exactly was what then when my son was born and he went to school, that experience he went to. Now look at the product that schools are. The product of a school is a building. It is the fancy furniture. It may be a swimming pool that some people will say. It's a product. It's the textbooks that you will say. There is no experience. Nobody talks about the experience that the child will go through. Everybody says we have science lab and we have swimming pool and we have air-conditioned spaces. They will not talk to you about the experience. Will the child feel safe? Will he be comforted? Will he have an experience that will challenge him? No talk about that happens in education. So my son's experience was terrible. And it was having a hugely negative experience for me as a mother. So then my interest really in education per se started in '96. So that real thing about what can education be like? What can an experience for my child be like? So really my story is a story of a mother. It's not a story of an educator, it's not a story of any person who wants to go change the world, nothing like that. It's a simple story of a mother. So this new school started, and the people I really liked, and I thought they were young and enterprising and they wanted to change the world. So I put my son in that school, and then I used to go and teach creative thinking. And they were looking for a principal, and then in a year they asked me to become the principal. So we were all these young, naive, none of us had an education background. They were from IIM, I was from NID. We had no idea, but we just knew that every day when the child would come to school, he would leave with an experience that was better than yesterday. That was the only thing that defined us. Can he walk into the space feeling energized, have less anxiety and more anticipation? Can that be his story? That went on well for a year and a half, and then we all actually left. I went back to my design practice. That was the year 2000. And in December 6th or so, I woke up one day and said, I'm starting my school. I started practicing, I started doing up the school, I started designing the curriculum. And when we started in 2001, 26 people joined me as parents. And right from the beginning, I remember this thing about design was very clear. Parents would come and say, you're not teaching nursery rhymes, you're not teaching, you don't have exams, you don't have a timetable. But a lot of my thinking was, does it make the learning better? So I started questioning, and luckily since I came from a design background and not education, I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to worry about what was right. So it was my school. So I couldn't care less about what anybody else thought, right? I said, my school, I'm not going to compromise on anything. In every other space, you have to look at somebody's situation and somebody's ideology and somebody's, right? Try to force fit your idea. I said, chuck it, this is mine. I will do what I think is right. And of course, I didn't naively get into that. I mean, there was design, of course, that came in. So I kept asking, do children learn well with these 40-minute things? Does it happen? Does learning happen? So a lot of it was around questioning, because I taught. I still teach every day, single day. But I was teaching every moment, every day, and testing it for myself. Observing my kids at play, observing my kids at work. What is making this child learn? There's a design to the timetable. You don't just arbitrarily design. There's a design to the culture that the school will imbibe. There's a design to the experiences they will have. So design was a very, very huge element. And over the years, it just became more refined. Yeah. I realized that the youngest kids, and again, this is by design, youngest kids, the first interaction they have with the world is a school. Look at the formal interaction. If a school looks completely alien to their homes, they have a huge disconnect. These younger children needed to feel that their first space that they walk into is like a home. If you look at Key Stage 1, Key Stage 1 is like a home. It's got things that you can yell at each other. There's a bathroom in every grade. It had to be warm. It had to have spaces which you literally look for a child like a drawing room. There had to be places that the child could go out and play, like a safe play area. by design, I actually replicated elements of my home into that first building. So the design kept going back to the user. It had to be user-centric. It had to get the user in terms of height, in terms of movability. Most furniture, if you look in schools, is so heavy you can't shift it. And so by default, children are only sitting in one particular form. They either are sitting one behind the other, or they don't move the desks. And it's a foolish design, right? So you can't get the kids to talk to each other. So by design, we had to create furniture that was easy to move, that could offer different formations, and that could then be at the same ergonomic height of the kids. Finally, when we came to this building, I mean, the children became the clients of the architect. And then this whole thing of swivel chairs, the whole idea that learners at this age have to move. I think one of the key things you'll ask is whether the teacher asks you, why might this be useful? Most teachers don't ask you that. They'll ask you, what should I teach? We don't pause. We don't observe our children. One of the key things of design thinking is observation. Just slow down. Don't rush into doing. Doing will all come. Over the years, we started realizing one of the key things that I wanted the school to be, and wanted every child who left this place to recognize, that they're not just doing well, but they have to do good. And for me, that drives, and that has actually become the key central focus. Can our children do good and do well? And that means that a lot of the choices we have done at Riverside has meant that they will spend a lot of the time outside Riverside. They will be the ones who will be leading. They will be understanding that they have a role to shape the world and make it better. That became an important. That means, and design is all about that. Design is what? Design is the ability to make the future better, or to make an experience better. And I think in my case, I wanted every child who left Riverside to believe that they have the tools to understand first that they are aware of how the world exists. They have the tools to shape it and to make it better.